Welcome to AutoDelightyt, a channel for car enthusiasts, and today we're reviewing this 2019 Mazda CX-9 Signature Edition. It is no secret that Mazda has been moving to a more upscale brand as of late. Since their independence from Ford, Mazda has been a very small car company in the giant industry itself. So what does Mazda do? They decided, hey, let's move to a more upscale market. With the advent of the second gen CX-9, the first generation being a collaboration between Mazda and Ford using a bunch of Ford parts, they redesigned the CX-9 with the Kodo design and made it with Sky Active technology, and they actually added a fourth trim level. So the fourth trim level was Signature Edition, the first of its kind for Mazda. They deemed it a success where they added Signature Edition to the Mazda 6. So is Mazda really making it in the upscale market? Well, we'll find out today in this CX-9 Signature review, and it'll be up to your guys' opinion to decide, is Mazda moving in the right direction or not? Before we get into the review, let's go over the 4 different trim levels that come on the CX-9. First is the Sports, second is the Touring, Grand Touring, and then Signature Edition. If you do opt for the Sports package, you do get leather-wrapped steering wheel and shift knob, 3-zone climate control, a 7-inch display for your infotainment, 6 speakers, rear view camera, dynamic stability control, and lastly you get some trailer stability assist? Yeah, trailer stability assist, which is a good amount of features for the very base model. If you decide that you need something more than what the Sports package has to offer, you might want to take a look at the Touring package. Touring package comes with a bunch of upgrades. Some of the upgrades include an 8-inch infotainment rather than 7-inch. You still get to keep the 3-zone climate control, but you get front and second row leather seats now. You also get heated front row seats, heated side view mirrors, power liftgate, lane departure warning, lane departure assist. And one of my favorites is radar cruise control for stop and go traffic, where you don't really have to step on the gas pedal anymore, which is pretty awesome. You also get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as one of the added bonuses as well. If you decide that the Touring is just not enough, then go for the Grand Touring. Grand Touring adds 20-inch wheels, aluminum roof rails, powered moonroof, smart city braking, parking brake sensors, as well as rain-sensing windshield wipers. Interiorly, you get some cool features like second row heated seats now. You also get front row ventilated seats, heated steering wheel. You get 12 speaker audio from Bose. And another cool feature is an LCD screen in your gauge cluster. And it's a mix of LCD and analog. One thing I forgot to mention for the Grand Touring package is you also get 360 view monitoring. Now, if you decide that you want to be a boss and get the highest end CX-9 ever, you would go for the Signature Edition. The Signature Edition has the same features from the Grand Touring, but you get just a few extra things. You get Napa leather interior, Santos rosewood interior bits, as well as a cool LED accent light on the grille, which is one of my favorite features of this car. All CX-9s are powered by the Sky Active G engine. The Sky Active G engine is a 2.5 liter turbocharged inline-4 engine. With 87 octane, you produce 227 horsepower. With 93 octane, you produce 250 horsepower. Regardless of octane, you get 310 pound-feet of torque. The engine also has variable valve timing. All CX-9s come with a 6-speed automatic transmission with manual shift. The sports to Grand Touring CX-9 models come standard with front-wheel drive, with all-wheel drive being optional. If you do get the Signature Edition, that only comes in all-wheel drive. Fuel economy for the front-wheel drive is 22 city, 28 highway. For the all-wheel drive, you do get 20 city, 26 highway. Moving on to the exterior portion of this review, we'll start with the front. You do see Mazda's signature Kodo design grille incorporated really well on the CX-9. You do have a very large opening right here. As you can tell, it hasn't moved to the new grille style from the the Mazda 3 and the CX-5. I don't know how I would like that new grille to be incorporated with the CX-9 with such a large inlet. I'm really happy with the way that this grille looks on this car. Functionality wise, you do have a large emblem. I have a gripe with how large that emblem is, but it does hold sensors in there and they needed to cover it, and why not cover it with the emblem? So definitely can understand that. Right under that, you do have a camera, which you can view from the inside of your car as well. It's a pretty cool feature. You get to see what the car sees pretty much. Again, their signature grille, I like how it incorporates itself into the headlight rather than how this Mazda 3 and the CX-5, I believe they go right under the headlight. Also the Mazda 6 too, but they go under the headlight. But I like how the CX-9, it actually goes into the headlight and kind of disappears right before it hits that LED inside. You see this bright molding on the lip. This is only for the Grand Touring and Signature package. If you see other CX-9s out there, and they're the Touring and Sport model, they won't have this bright molding. And this bright molding actually goes across the entire car. You'll see it in the back. Well, I'll show it to you all, as well as the sides. And again, it's only for the Grand Touring and Signature package. With the Signature package, you do have the LED fog lights, which are right here. And even though I'm not a very big fan of non-functional items, like this is a non-functional little vent right here, or Fox vent, whatever, but it really makes the bumper look a little bit better. It adds more shape to the bumper, which is something that I kind of feel was lacking in the CX-5, while it was just nothing in here and it was just a flat kind of surface. So even though I don't like how it's not functional, it adds a lot of shape and looks really good on the CX-9. Before we move on from the front of the car, I forgot to mention one of my favorite parts of the Signature Edition CX-9, and that's the LED signature light up grille. So you got an LED strip that goes across right here, and it's again on both sides. At night, when illuminated, it looks so awesome to see that little LED light go on, and it looks like it integrates right into the tail or the headlight. It was one of the main reasons why I like the Signature CX-9, and they also incorporated that in the Signature Mazda 6, which is pretty awesome as well. Moving on to the side of the CX-9, you get a couple of cool things. You see the 20-inch wheels, which are standard on the Grand Touring and Signature. You get the bright moldings again, which are standard on the Grand Touring and Signature. And that goes again across the entire side of the car on the bottom right there. If you had the Sport or Touring, it would just be the black plastic. You wouldn't see that bright molding right over there. With the Touring and up, you get power side view folding mirrors, which is a nice touch. And not being too much different from the 2016 CX-9, it's one of those things that they updated and added for the 2019s. Other things to mention on the side of this car is you do get a full bright molding that goes across the entire perimeter of all your windows on the side. One of the things that I really didn't like about the CX-5 was that you have half a bright molding and then the other half is just black. For me, it's either you go all or none. Either you have your whole perimeter of all the windows with the bright molding or you don't. and there's no compromise between the two. So I really appreciate that they went the extra effort for this one. Other things that they added were like right here at the A pillar, B pillar, and C pillar, that all the pillars are a nice shiny piano black. It does make it a little more seamless with the appearance of the windows, that it's just one kind of large window. Obviously it's not, but it does give that illusion about it. They could have made it a plastic black or a matte black and it would have looked very low end. So I kind of appreciate that they went the extra mile to do the, you know, shiny piano black. Lastly, again, with the Grand Touring and the Signature, it comes standard with the aluminum roof rack. So if you wanted to add a roof rack to your Sport and your Touring, I believe you'd have to buy the aluminum roof rack, then buy the connectors for the roof rack to put whatever you're going to put on the top. At least with the Grand Touring and Signature, it already comes with that, so that's pretty cool. Lastly, moving on to the rear, you get a few things. You get the bright molding that completes the last of the bright moldings for the bottom of the car for the Grand Touring and Signature. And one thing to differentiate the Signature versus the Grand Touring, because there's not really many ways. The only other way to really tell the difference between the two is the Signature grille. But you get a nice little emblem right here that says SG, which is a super subtle thing, but I guess you're paying that extra money to get an LED strip and an emblem with the stuff in the inside as well. But the SG just means Signature, which is, I think it was a cool touch. In 2016, or the first of the second gen CX-9s, there was no other way to differentiate the Signature to the Grand Touring except for the LED strip. So adding this little SG, I can appreciate that little minor detail. You get the little katana sword that they do with a lot of their other cars. That was another thing of the Kodo design. So that goes across and integrates very well into the taillight. And again, one thing that I really like from the CX-5 and now on the CX-9 is the sculpted taillights. For me, taillights are, you know, it's just one of those subtle nods that you can either go all in or you just don't put any effort into it, but it also can make or break the look of the car. And the fact that, you know, they add a little form to their taillights, like they added a lip and it has some shape that integrates into the quarter. It's just nice. And at night I'll show you guys some footage, but there's an LED strip that goes across here and it makes it look super sinister. Like this car is not playing around no more, and it kind of looks angry, which I really, really like on this car as well. The standard capacity of a CX-9 is 7 people. It does have 3 rows and it goes across the Sports all the way to the Signature. Right now, as you can tell, I configured it for the 5-row seating just to maximize the amount of luggage room you have. Once you put up that 3rd row, you do lose a good amount of luggage room and you cannot really fit too much back there. So if you're gonna hold 7 people, don't plan on a very long road trip. If you do hold 5 people, you can plan on a long road trip and be fine to hold all your luggage. To bring up the 3rd row seats, it's pretty simple. There's 2 levers on both backs of the seats. All you gotta do is just pretty much open it. Before I forget to mention, you do have a cool feature right here. If you push down on here and lift this up, you do have a tiny storage space to hold random knickknacks here and there. It gives you just that little bit of added room in case you just need it, especially with the 3rd row being up. Unfortunately, I don't have my trunk stake with me, so I'm not going to be able to really show you how much room is here in the back with the 2nd or the 3rd row up. So what I'm going to do, just for you guys and just for this one time, I'm going to be your trunk stake. So let's go see if I can fit in this trunk and have the hatch closed. I'm a little sketchy about this, but we'll find out. I should be able to close it through the key as well, which is a nice feature. All right, let's try this. I'm able to fit, which tells you you can fit a person of 5'7" back here and still be good. Huh, it's kind of comfortable. Maybe I'll just fall asleep back here. With the third row seats up, I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to fit in the third row. So to get to the third row, unfortunately this is not a Tesla or anything, you don't have any powered seats. You gotta do it the good old fashioned way. All right, well this is gonna be the POV cam, so hopefully the other camera gets it, but we're gonna go ahead and try to get in the back seat and you get to see me and my struggles. All right. Oh, that was like the most non-graceful way to get in. All right, now that I'm in, let's go ahead and get the seat up. All right. So the seat's not all the way back where I had it in the last position. It's actually moved up a little forward. But as you can tell, the room is going to get a little bit on the lighter side. So I might have just enough room to fit in here. But it's definitely not going to be like very comfortable. And the seat is not as reclined back. But I do have about 2.5 inches of knee room between me and the second row, so surprisingly I think I may fit back here. My head is touching the top, or my hair is touching, but not my head, but a bump can get me to hit my head. Back here, your amenities are pretty good. You actually have cup holders and a little pocket on both sides, which is nice. You got your speakers right over here as well. This is for the trunk in case you have like a cargo net or something. Little holders for the seat belt. And if you do need to charge your phone or something in the trunk, let's see if I can show you, you do have an outlet right there in the back in that little pocket. I don't know if you guys were able to see it or not, but there is one back there. So to get out, there's a lever right here, so you don't need someone to help you. It actually releases it on both sides, and then you can push it forward. All right, let's see how gracefully I can get out. Hopefully better than I can get in. All right, that wasn't that bad. Other things to note in the third row, if you didn't really notice from the POV cam, was you don't really have a lot of leather back there. The seats are lined in leather, but other than that, where you put your hands, where the cup holders are, there's nothing really of like a soft touch material for you. So it's kind of bare bones back there. But I mean, you do get leather seats, which is really nice. That, I mean, they're decently comfortable. So I can't complain about that. It's the third row. It's your prisoners back there. All right, POV cam is back. Let's go ahead and get in the second row. With the seats at the current position, I have a lot of foot room, so that's always a good thing. And I got 3.5 inches between my knees and the front seat, so that's pretty convenient as well. As you can tell, the optional all-weather floor mats are in this car, which is a great addition. I would definitely recommend it for everyone just to have all-weather floor mats. But sitting back here is comfortable. Again, you do have reclining seats, so if you hit the lever right here, you can recline. So this is the furthest you can recline, which is still enough to take a nap in. And your amenities back here, so you do have 3-zone climate control. This is for the rear, and as long as the AC is on in front, you'll be able to use the power button to turn it on, control your fan speed, set your temperatures, set to auto, and these are the buttons for your seat warmers. The seat warmers only work on the outer seats, not on the middle seat. If you do, you have the option of putting a little person in the middle seat, but I like to call the second row the VIP row, so you just put this down, and there are your cup holders, as well as USB charging ports, a little pocket for whatever little electronics you want to put, your phone, whatever. And the top of this is leather, so it does definitely feel nice, and it's comfortable to, you know, as an armrest. You have leather right here, which is nice. It's not super soft, but it's comfy enough for you to rest your arm in. It's a little bit of leather wrapping right around the door handle, which is nice. Kind of reminiscent of the RX-7 in my opinion, to have that kind of door handle. You do have nice little bright trimming right here. You do have real aluminum right here, and then you got the maroon like accent. That again is for the Signature only. If you do have the Grand Touring, I believe this is black. Other features, you got the speaker, an extra place to put a bottle or some goods. You got 2 pockets on the back of these seats, so you can go ahead and store stuff. And the nice feature again for the back, and this is only available in the Grand Touring and Touring, or Grand Touring and Signature, I apologize, is the sunshade. All right, time for us to move into the front seats, the captain seats of this CX-9. Over here, it is really comfortable. Of course, I mean, you expect the first row to be comfortable. It's the other most satin seat, except for the driver's seat. You do have nice cushiony, nice leather right here, and it's very soft, so you can rest your arms. The design here is pretty awesome. It is a dual pivot, or not a dual pivot, but a dual door open. So if the driver needs to get to their armrest pocket and they don't want to bother you, you can just open one side, or you can open both sides. Inside that pocket, you do have 2 USB ports, one for your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. The other is just to charge. And then you have your little mini disc for the navigation, which is standard on Grand Touring and Signature. Then you have a very deep pocket here, which is really nice to hold all your stuff. Then you got 2 cup holders in the middle. And then you got a bottle holder on the door itself. One of the prominent features for the Signature Edition is the use of rosewood, which is featured in the first row. Rosewood is used to accent the window controls on both front doors, as well as to accent the center console near the shifter. With the use of rosewood, chrome, and piano black, it gives off a sophisticated look to the car. The door and the dash are also accented with real aluminum, which further give a premium feel to the interior. Mazda did a great job with the use of the Signature only auburn color throughout the cabin that helped further break up the black interior in tandem with the aluminum trim. The auburn color helps give off a feel of sophistication and class that is well deserved for a Signature model. The front seats are powered and they are comfortable and firm with pretty decent bolstering on your sides. Because this is the Signature Edition, the seats are both ventilated and heated and can be controlled using the center dash. The seats do have nice details like the addition of black accents in some areas. The ventilated seats work very well, and they have 3 settings to them, which are high, medium, and low, and is indicated by lights. The seat warmers do work well, but do not expect them to work instantly. It does need time to warm up. It does have the same 3 settings, which are indicated by lights as well. Like all Mazdas, infotainment can be controlled using the rotary dial joystick under the shifter. It does have shortcuts for media and navigation, which is standard for the Grand Touring and Signature. Parking brake is to the left, and volume control is to the right. Moving to the center dash, the HVAC controls look good and the LCD display is clear, but does require you to take your eyes off the road to make adjustments to them. A new addition to the 2019 is the seatbelt display for the second and third row seats, which is located right above the HVAC controls. It's always good to know who's wearing their seatbelts or not. To the right of that display is your heated steering wheel button. Alright, now time for us to get in the driver's seat. Some things to note about the driver's seat: it is pretty much the same as the passenger seat in the first row, but you do, on top of your some of your features that you get for your powered seating, you also get lumbar, which is controlled right over here. You do have a two memory so you can set, you and your spouse can set your own seating positions right over there. And those are the main differences with the seat. Now, going inside the driver's seat, again, as you expect, really easy. On the left of the driver's seat, you do have some buttons right here. Traction control system off, your parking sensor, you can turn it off, lane departure assist and warning, I believe, is this one, and you can turn it off as well. And this one's cool. This is what you can use to, you toggle this to see your 360 camera and the front of your car. And then over here is your trunk button. If you automatically hit or you trip the parking sensors, it will automatically go to your 360 view without actually viewing this. There is a button lever right under the steering wheel. Go ahead and switch that, and then you can do tilt and then telescopic. And then to lock it in place, just press it back. On your steering wheel, you do have a couple of controls, volume up and down, as well as voice command. You do have your track up, track down, and then your info. You got your pick up and turn off. On the left, or on the right side, I apologize, you can set the distance between you and the car in front of you right here. Then you can set your speeds, as well as turn on and off your cruise control right over here. The one thing I really don't like about the steering wheel is this portion. I can't remember on the 2016 if this was this middle portion was missing and it was just completely hollow and you can press right through it. But on this one, it's not. It looks like it would be, and then it's a solid piece right here. There must be some electronics, because there is something behind here, but I cannot figure out what it is on the life of me. New for the 2019 CX-9 Grand Touring Signature is the larger LCD display in your instrument cluster. While sports and touring models still receive the analog cluster except for the right gauge being digital, the LCD display for the GT and Signature was moved to the center, and there you can find your trip information, sensors being tripped around your CX-9, when your next service is due, and estimated mileage on your tank. To the right of the center gauge is a constant display of estimated miles you have on your current tank, and to the left of the gauge is your average miles per gallon. It is a nice subtle upgrade for getting a GT or Signature Edition. So what is it like driving a Mazda CX-9? It's surprisingly easy. It's really easy. It doesn't feel like driving other crossovers, especially for its size. One of the things that helped contribute to this is the steering. The steering is light. It's electronically assisted, but it's light, it's precise, yet it still gives a good amount of feedback, which is something that I can really appreciate, and it's something that I enjoy personally myself. I can feel the road through it, and it's always comforting for me to know that I can feel the road. I've driven other cars that were like fully electronic steering, and I hated those cars. Those cars were not fun for me at all, and I just couldn't stand the numbness of it. So I can really appreciate getting feedback from this car. I mean, I would love more feedback, don't get me wrong, but you have enough feedback in this car. One of the things that were highlighted for this car in general was the fact that it only comes in a 2.5 liter turbo engine. And to me, that's not a problem. Dip this thing in sports mode and gun it, and you feel like you have really a good amount of power with this car. It's easy. I'm already speeding at like 85 miles an hour. Like, it was just so simple and easy, and it feels adequate. It makes me giggle a little bit to think that people complain about the power, because when the CX-9 first came out, they're like, why does it only have an inline 4 turbo engine, blah blah blah, should have a V6. And obviously those people have never driven this car. It feels way more than adequate. The power is all there where you need it. Again, the power is in the low and mid range, and that's where you're going to be at most of the time while you're driving. The seats in this car are really comfortable. Driving long distances in the vehicle feels really nice, and even though the seats are a little bit on the firmer side, it doesn't bother me too much. I mean, in my preference, I would definitely like it a little bit softer than what it is right now, but again, it's not bothersome the way it feels. And once you settle into it, you feel pretty comfortable in it. I have the seat ventilators on, and this thing is amazing. I can feel it through the sweater, and on this kind of a warm day, it feels really good. Visibility from the inside of this car is really good. Your windshield's nice and large. Rear window is surprisingly large from the inside than it looks like from the outside. You know, looking out through the sides, you have good, clear visibility. The only thing that you do not really utilize, or you can't really utilize in this car, is the rear quarter windows. I'm the type of person that I like to be able to visually verify my blind spots. And even though you can see out of the passenger side rear quarter, for smaller vehicles, it's harder to see because of the way that the lines slope up a little bit. And then on the driver's side, you can't really see it at all. There's no way for you to, you know, see it from the driver's seat. I'm pretty sure the only reason that those rear quarters are there is for the third row seating, so you can, you know, visually see outside from the third row instead of feeling very claustrophobic. The one thing I started to really like about this car is the heads-up display while driving. The heads-up display is like right there, right below your kind of line of sight, depending on your seat position, of course. But it does give really good information. It gives you your current speed. It gives you the speed of the street that you're on, so you know what the speed limit is. But also it gives you some features like it has a blind spot monitor that shows you on the screen. So when something is in your blind spot, it actually gives these little parentheses in the corner or on the side where something's tripping your blind spot. The nice thing about the heads-up display here too is if you set the navigation, it gives you directions via your heads-up display as well. So you get a visual aid without having to look at your infotainment system, as well as you get audible if you choose to want the audible on. So one of the cool features that the CX-9 comes with, I believe it was on the Grand Touring and up, is the stop-and-go radar cruise control. So right now I have I'm on the freeway. I have the cruise control set to 70 miles an hour, and it does a really good job at mitigating the distance in front of me, or for the distance between the cars in front of me and me myself. Right now I set it to the furthest distance, where if it starts sensing a car in front of me, it will automatically apply the brakes and slow down. And then if there's a large gap between the car in front of me, it will accelerate to whatever the top speed is that you set the cruise control on. So right now I'm set to 70 miles an hour, and there's a large gap in front of me. I can mitigate the gap with the controls on the steering wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the gap, and I'm going to increase the speed, which is like a video game. You do everything from the steering wheel, which is really convenient as well. And now it's, you know, I'm set it to 75. Now it's reducing the gap between the car in front of me, and I also lowered or shortened the distance between the car in front of me as well as myself. And now that we're kind of creeping up into the car in front, it's gonna automatically apply or let off the acceleration to keep a set distance between the car in front of me. This is a really cool feature, and I've used it a few times already, and it's really, really convenient. It's, of course, still autopilot. You do have lane departure assist and everything. Another thing I want to mention about the cruise control is how smooth it runs, or how smooth it works. It actually, like, when you start coming up on the vehicle, even though you set your distance in between, it lets off the gas rather than applying brakes. So it's really smooth to drive as you're, you know, as it's mitigating the speed and the distance between the car in front of you. And it does a really good job where it's not just applying brakes, and it's like, it's freaking giving you whiplash kind of thing. It doesn't work like that. As soon as it hits a specific threshold, it lets off the gas, and then it'll start applying brakes once you get within or close to that threshold of the distance between you and the car in front of you, or whatever you set. So it's something that I can really appreciate, that, you know, they made it so it was livable and it feels very, very smooth. One thing I feel that Mazda could improve on the CX-9 is the brake feel. Braking on this car is good, but there is a little bit of a dead zone of when you start applying brakes to the vehicle that it just doesn't feel like it's doing much. It lasts about the first, you know, eighth of an inch from applying brakes. Then after that, you do get a nice, like, firm grasp on the brakes, and then you can feel the brakes clamping down. I don't know if they tune that to, you know, for smoothness, to make it smooth while braking, but for me, I prefer to have, you know, a nice brake feel right off the bat and not have a little buffer zone, you know. The ride quality of the CX-9 is really good. It does a really good job at mitigating all the bumps on the road without, you know, making it feel nauseatingly smooth. Though that could be a good or bad thing depending on how the type of person you are. For me, I like feeling bumps on the road. It's one of the things that I don't mind having, and, you know, I like getting the feedback. But for others, they may expect this to be a little bit more smoother, and rightfully so. If you're buying a luxury vehicle or a, you know, higher end vehicle, then you expect a bit of a smoother ride. The CX-9 mitigates that really well, but it can improve on it a bit more. It definitely is no BMW X5 or Mercedes GL, but it does a great job at being one of those budget high-end cars. And it's something that, you know, is an improvement, but I'm sure it's something that they can improve on the next generation, of course. One thing I was really surprised about the CX-9 was, while doing maneuvering, the car feels pretty planted. You do feel body roll here and there, especially at like high speed maneuvering, but during, like, you know, getting onto the on-ramps and driving maybe 20 miles over the speed limit or 30, it feels really planted. And it's very surprising how planted it feels, and it's more than you'd expect from a CUV. So what are my final thoughts on Mazda CX-9? Why should you get it? On top of the very great styling that Mazda has been doing lately, the car is a step up towards, or going towards, that premium grade. There could be a few things here and there, like, you know, better leather for your armrest and on the side of the doors, and more use of the wood trimming around even some of the rear area, not just in the front. But they're doing a really good job at moving towards that goal. The Signature Edition especially makes you feel that you've gotten, you know, what you wanted as the top of the line CX-9. It's different enough on the interior to really, you know, make a difference of why you should get a Signature versus a Grand Touring. The Auburn leather is really nice. The Auburn interior is really nice. And you just get that feeling that you got something a little more special than the Grand Touring would be. Exteriorly, the only difference that you would have is the Signature badge in the rear, and that's it. Nothing else really externally is different. But just the great design of the CX-9, a very good interior. You know, you can seat 7, and compared to like a Toyota Highlander, it feels just a lot better to drive. I definitely, if you're in the market for a 7-seater crossover or 7-seater SUV, you know, you may want to consider the Mazda CX-9. At least drive it, see the interior for yourself. I know that a lot of people just default into like getting a Highlander or the Honda Pilot, and they just miss over the fact that Mazda's around. And yes, Mazda's a smaller car company, and it's a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that you should really look it over. I definitely recommend the CX-9. I really like this car. And just a little backstory, my girlfriend leased a 2016 CX-9, and then when the 2019s came out, she traded in that 2016 for a 2019. The differences between the two CX-9s, there's minor differences, but it was enough for her to really, trade it in. And I, as a person who drives this car a lot, I really like this car. And it's not just because it's a Mazda, it's just a really good car. And I really just recommend it. Definitely just give it a try. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also check out my other reviews and other automotive content on my channel as well. Have any thoughts on the CX-9? Let me know on the comment section below. Lastly, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or visit my subreddit. Links will be in the description below. Thanks for watching again, and have a good one.